be still. Take one long, deliberate breath out, and keep exhaling until the air has completely left you. In that brief emptiness, listen. Your life has not been repeating itself because you are cursed, weak, or incapable of change. You have been watching an instruction unfold, again and again. You may recognize this in the work of Joseph Murphy, who taught that your subconscious mind does not argue with the commands it receives. It accepts, it acts, it obeys. That is why the same kind of relationship returns wearing a different face. Why money arrives, then disappears. Why progress begins, only to collapse at the familiar threshold. You noticed the pattern long before you could name it. You were not imagining it. This did not reach you by accident. Some part of you is finally ready to hear what the repetition has been saying. You were told that your circumstances formed your beliefs. But the deeper truth is more unsettling. Your repeated beliefs have been forming your circumstances. Every phrase whispered in fear, every conclusion drawn in pain, and every identity accepted in exhaustion became an order. And your subconscious kept working. It never asked whether the order was fair. It never asked whether it was still true. It simply turned the same key and opened the same door. Tonight, that can change. Not through force, not through pretending, through authority. Your authority. Stay with these words as you would remain beside a flame in a dark room. What you are about to hear is not merely information. It is a return to the place where your inner commands are given and where they can be withdrawn. You are not trapped inside the pattern. You are standing before the locked, and before chapter 1 ends, you will remember where you left the key. Stop for 1 second and rest the body now. Because the thing you are about to hear will only land if your body is still. Feel your fingers. Feel the weight of your hand. Notice how quickly your body obeys a simple command, before your mind has time to debate it. That small movement reveals the larger secret. Something inside you receives instructions continuously. Your heart beats roughly 100,000 times today, without asking your permission. Your lungs expand, your blood moves, your cells repair themselves, and your body follows orders beneath the noise of conscious thought. You are already being obeyed. But what happens when the order is not spoken aloud? What happens when it enters through fear, shame, heartbreak, or repeated disappointment? What happens when the instruction becomes so familiar that you mistake it for reality? The lock turns. Again. You notice the same relationship ending at the same moment. You reach the same income ceiling after every promising beginning. You gather momentum, approach the same invisible boundary, and collapse just before crossing it. You call it bad luck. It is not. You call it self-sabotage. That is closer, but still incomplete. The deeper truth is more unsettling. Your subconscious is carrying out an order that you may have forgotten giving. Joseph Murphy made this claim with striking clarity in 1963. Your subconscious does not argue with your instructions. It does not examine them like a wise judge. It does not stop you and ask whether the command is healthy, accurate, or worthy of your life. It obeys. That is not punishment, it is function. A lock does not hate the key. A lock does not question the hand. It simply responds to the pattern that fits its inner mechanism. Your subconscious is similar. It receives the emotional pattern you repeat, accepts it as instruction, and begins arranging your reactions around it. Your choices bend toward it. Your attention searches for evidence of it. Your body prepares for it before your conscious mind recognizes what is happening. Resistance feeds bondage. Dogma seals windows. You are not merely trapped inside a pattern. You are participating in its continued operation, often without awareness. The same key keeps turning because the same key remains in your hand. Look closely at the sentence you repeat when life becomes uncertain. I always lose everything. I never have enough. No one stays. Success never lasts. These may sound like descriptions. Your subconscious hears commands. You say, I always lose everything, and the deeper mind does not respond with a correction. It begins treating loss as familiar territory. You say, no one stays, and your attention becomes trained to detect distance, rejection, and betrayal. You say, I never have enough, and every opportunity passes through the narrow doorway of expected scarcity. The words matter, but the feeling gives them power. A cold affirmation is only sound. A statement charged with emotion becomes a key cut into the inner mechanism. This is why a single painful moment can continue directing your life for years. The order is not created only by language. It is created by language fused with feeling, repeated, until the subconscious recognizes the pattern as truth. Perhaps you were rejected when you needed love. Perhaps you failed while everyone watched. Perhaps money disappeared during a season when you felt powerless. In that moment, you did not calmly write an instruction for your future. You reacted. You decided, I must never need anyone again. You decided, if I become visible, I will be humiliated. You decided, money leaves as quickly as it arrives. You decided, love always ends. The pain cut the first shape. Repetition deepened it. Every similar experience seemed to confirm the order. And every confirmation pressed the key more firmly into place. Soon, the pattern no longer felt like a decision. It felt like your personality. It felt like your circumstances. It felt like fate. That is how the lock becomes invisible. You forget the key because you have carried it for so long. Most people will never hear this. They will describe the recurring event without examining the instruction beneath it. They will study the relationship, the economy, the childhood, the betrayal, the difficult season, and all of those details may be real. But beneath the details sits a command. The outer event is often the turning of the key. The inner assumption is the hand that turns it. Why does the same disappointment arrive wearing different faces? Why does every breakthrough seem to stop at the same invisible door? Why does your life keep proving the sentence, you insist you do not want? The answer is not that you are cursed. The answer is obedience. Loss empties hands. Wings teach freedom. Shame tells you that your pattern proves something defective about you. Awareness shows you that your pattern has been organized around an instruction. Shame locks the door tighter. Awareness lets you see the key. And once you see the key, the entire relationship changes. You stop begging the lock to open. You stop fighting the door with exhausted force. You stop demanding that the world become different while repeating the same command in the quiet chambers of your mind. You begin to speak differently. This is where Murphy's understanding of prayer becomes practical. Prayer is not begging a distant power to interrupt your life. It is the deliberate act of impressing a new reality upon the subconscious, not as desperate fantasy, but as an accomplished inner fact. You relax. You speak the desire as already received. You allow feeling to enter the words. Then you release the strain of forcing the result. The lock responds to the new key. Not because you repeat empty phrases while secretly expecting failure. Your subconscious listens to the emotional meaning beneath your words. If you say, "I am secure," while your entire body rehearses disaster, the old order still carries more force. Feel the statement. Let it become familiar. This does not require you to pretend that present circumstances are different. It requires you to stop making present circumstances the authority over your inner instruction. Your outer condition may be old evidence. It does not deserve to become your permanent command. The lock is not your destiny. It is a mechanism. You have been using the same key, then wondering why the same door opens. There is a quiet moment each night when the conscious guard begins to soften. Your thoughts lose their sharp edges. Your attention drifts between waking and sleep. In that threshold, the subconscious becomes more receptive because the usual arguments are no longer standing at full strength. This is why the final thought you carry into sleep matters. If you fall asleep rehearsing rejection, the subconscious receives rejection, the atmosphere of tomorrow. If you fall asleep counting everything that went wrong, the inner mechanism keeps turning toward wrongness. But if you gently impress the feeling of completion, safety, love, or provision, you offer a different pattern while the mind is open. Do not strain. A key does not need violence. Before sleep, speak as though the answer is already present. Feel gratitude, not as performance, but as recognition. Give thanks for what you desire as if it has entered the inner world first. Gratitude changes the emotional shape of the instruction. You are no longer saying, "Maybe someday." You are saying, "This is becoming natural to me." That distinction is immense. Desire mixed with panic keeps the old lock active. Desire joined with trust begins cutting a new key. The subconscious does not need a dramatic speech. It needs a consistent impression. Repeat the feeling, not mechanically, faithfully. You may not notice immediate change in the outer pattern. The old mechanism has momentum. Your reactions may still rise automatically. The familiar thought may still appear. The same fear may still knock at the door. Do not mistake the old echo for the final command. When the old sentence arrives, you do not need to fight it with hatred. You simply stop signing it. You refuse to feed it the authority of repetition. Then you introduce the new instruction with enough feeling that your inner world begins recognizing it as home. The old order says, "Protect yourself by staying small." The new order says, "You are safe to expand." The old order says, "Love always abandons you." The new order says, "You are available for steady love." The old order says, "Money disappears." The new order says, "You are capable of receiving, holding, and directing abundance." Notice what changes first. Your attention. You begin seeing doors that were always present. You notice conversations you once avoided. You pause before repeating the reaction that used to guarantee the same result. You feel the old key in your hand, and for the first time, You do not insert it. That pause is sacred. It is the space between instruction and obedience. You are the key holder, not the prisoner, not the victim of an invisible machine, not the helpless witness to a life that repeats without explanation. You are the key holder, and this does not mean you blame yourself for every wound you received. You did not choose every painful event. You did not design every betrayal. You did not cause every loss. But you can choose what those events are permitted to instruct. That is where your authority begins. The wound may have spoken first. Your repetition kept it speaking. Your awareness can now answer. The past gives an impression. The present gives a decision. You are not required to wait for the world to change before changing the command. You do not need perfect confidence. You need a new instruction repeated with emotional truth, especially when your conscious guard is quiet and your old assumptions are exposed. Tonight, the lock will wait. It will not judge you. It will not chase you. It will simply respond to the pattern you bring. So bring a different key. Let your final thought carry completion instead of fear. Let gratitude enter before proof. Let your body experience the possibility of safety before circumstances announce it. Your subconscious is listening beneath the words, receiving the feeling, and preparing to obey. The pattern is not a prophecy. It is an instruction wearing the mask of destiny. And the moment you recognize that, the door is no longer sealed by fate. You are not the prisoner in this story. You are the one who cut the key. And if that is true, then the pattern is not asking to be escaped. It is waiting to be reinstructed. Do it right now. Take the key from the old lock and give your life a command it can finally obey. Nothing in your life is happening to you. It is happening about you. The difference is painful at first, because it removes the comfort of being purely attacked by circumstances. But it gives you something stronger than comfort. It gives you a way to read what has been written into your world. Your life is a mirror, not a cruel mirror, not a moral judge. A mirror does not punish the face standing before it. It simply returns what is there with no argument and no apology. That is why the same pattern can follow you through different rooms, different jobs, different relationships, and different years. The names change. The setting changes. The reflection remains. Look closely. You may think your problem is the person who leaves, but the deeper pattern is the way you expect love to leave. You may blame the economy, your family, or bad timing, while something within you continues issuing the same quiet instruction. This is as far as I am allowed to go. The outer world receives the order. Then it reflects it back. You are not being punished. You are being shown. The subconscious mind does not debate your instructions the way your conscious mind does. It does not sit down and examine whether your repeated inner statements are logical, fair, or useful. It accepts the emotional direction you impress upon it, especially when you repeat that direction in the stillness before sleep. When your resistance softens and your inner voice becomes more authoritative. Your circumstances are the readout. They are not the entire truth of you. They are not a final sentence. But they reveal a standing instruction that has been active long enough to produce visible results. Your income, your relationships, your energy, your opportunities. and your repeated disappointments become the surface of the mirror. You can call the reflection unfair. It still reflects. This is where the wound begins to sharpen into information. The breakup is not merely a breakup. The stalled project is not merely a stalled project. The recurring shortage is not merely an empty account. Each one is asking you to look beyond the event and identify the instruction beneath it. What do you expect just before success arrives? What do you believe must happen when someone gets close? What private sentence appears when you consider receiving more than you have received before? Why does the same ending return? Why does your enthusiasm disappear during the same week? Why does your income stop at the same number? Now you are looking. Most people will never hear this. They keep staring at the glass and demanding that it become different. They attack the reflection, criticize its shape, and then wonder why exhaustion becomes their permanent companion. Blaming the mirror is the most exhausting work you can do. It has never once changed a reflection. You can repaint the glass with positive words. You can stand in front of it and repeat, "I am abundant," while a deeper conviction whispers, "Nothing stays." You can announce that you are confident while your body remains prepared for rejection. You can visualize the perfect result while secretly expecting disappointment to arrive first. The surface language is not the deepest order. A mirror does not respond to the costume you wear. It responds to the face in front of it. Your subconscious does not obey the sentence you perform for an hour. If your feeling, expectation, and habitual inner conversation command something else for the remaining 23. Cold repetition is weak. Feeling gives it force. This does not mean you must force yourself to feel joyful every moment. It means you must become honest about the emotional atmosphere you repeatedly inhabit. If you say you desire love but rehearse betrayal each night, the rehearsal is the stronger instruction. If you ask for prosperity but feel unsafe whenever money increases, the fear is still speaking. The subconscious listens beneath the performance. Your life answers beneath the noise. Imagination conceives reality. Ritual recalls power. The victim waits for conditions to improve. The conscious witness studies the condition and changes the order. Your outer life may appear to be the enemy, but it is functioning more like a faithful report, returning the assumptions you have made familiar. Envy studies others. Forgiveness revises identity. You do not need to accuse yourself. Shame only creates another painful reflection. You need to recognize where your inner agreement has been operating without your permission. Start with precision. Do not say, "Everything goes wrong." That is too vague to reveal the instruction. Name the exact pattern out loud. Say, "Every relationship becomes intense, then distant, then silent." Say, "I receive money," then an unexpected expense removes it. Say, "I become excited about a goal, and by the second week I begin finding reasons to stop." Your words must touch the actual wound. Not the dramatic version, the accurate version. Name the specific way things end. Name the specific number your income stops at. Name the specific week the enthusiasm dies. Name the moment you begin withdrawing, apologizing, overgiving, delaying, or preparing to lose what you have just received. The mirror becomes useful when you stop describing your life in generalities. A general complaint creates a general fog. A precise observation reveals the shape of the face before the glass. You begin to notice that the repeated event is not random, even when the details are unpredictable. The same emotional conclusion keeps being reached. You are expecting abandonment, so closeness becomes threatening. You are expecting scarcity, so opportunity becomes suspicious. You are expecting failure, so success feels temporary. And your behavior quietly returns you to what feels familiar. Familiar is powerful. The subconscious prefers what it recognizes, even when what it recognizes hurts you. An old instruction can feel safer than a new possibility, because the old instruction has been rehearsed. It has become known. You may say you want change, but your nervous system may still be loyal to the reflection it has seen for years. The known pattern feels like home. That does not make it destiny. Your circumstances are not a punishment delivered by an invisible authority. They are the current image produced by repeated inner impressions. Like a mirror, they show what has been placed before them. Change the face, and the image must change. Not instantly, perhaps, but inevitably as the new instruction becomes more familiar than the old one. This is why pretending fails. Pretending tries to hide the old face. Transformation changes it. You cannot command the subconscious with frantic effort. You impress it with calm certainty, repeated feeling, and faithful inner pictures. Before sleep, when the conscious guard lowers, you speak the desired condition as already accomplished. You do not beg the mirror. You assume the new image, feel the relief of its reality, and allow the deeper mind to receive it. You let the new order settle. Then you return to it. Gratitude helps, because gratitude changes your position in relation to the reflection. You are no longer pleading for evidence that you are worthy. You are feeling from the assumption that the desired condition is entering your experience now. The feeling does not need to be loud. It needs to be accepted. Quiet acceptance reaches deeper than desperate repetition. A mirror does not need persuasion. Your task is not to wrestle the old reflection into submission. Your task is to stop feeding it with the same expression. When the familiar thought appears, you notice it. When the old prediction rises, you refuse to give it authority. When your mouth begins repeating the inherited order, you interrupt it before it becomes another impression. You do not fight the image. You change what stands before the glass. This is where responsibility becomes freedom. If your life is only happening to you, then you must wait for another person, another market, another year, another apology, or another miracle. But if your life is reporting an instruction, then every repeated moment becomes evidence you can use. The delay tells you where you expect refusal. The conflict tells you where you expect danger. The limitation tells you where you have accepted a ceiling. The recurring loss tells you where receiving has not yet become safe in your inner world. The report is painful. It is also precise. You may discover that your conscious desire is not the command controlling your life. You desire partnership, but your inner order says, do not be seen. You desire wealth, but your emotional order says, more money creates problems. You desire peace, but your familiar order says, if I relax, everything will collapse. The conscious mind asks for the destination. The subconscious follows the instruction it trusts. That is why your private feeling matters more than your public declaration. The words you speak when nobody is watching often have greater force than the affirmations you repeat while trying to convince yourself. Your nightly imagination, your emotional reactions, and your automatic predictions reveal what you have impressed beneath the surface. The mirror catches all of it. There is no need to panic when you see something you dislike. A mirror revealing a wound does not create the wound. It gives you the first clear opportunity to tend to it. You cannot heal what you insist is only the mirror's fault. You can read it now. And once you read it, you can answer differently. When the old pattern predicts rejection, you install acceptance. When it predicts shortage, you practice the feeling of sufficiency. When it predicts collapse, you impress the deeper mind with steadiness, as though stability is already familiar. The new image must be felt before it is visible. That is the order of creation. Your outer circumstances may continue reflecting the former instruction for a time. Do not mistake the delay for defeat. A mirror shows the face you bring to it, and your life is still reorganizing around what you repeatedly accept as true. Continue returning to the new assumption without strain. The old reflection fades when you stop standing before the glass with the old expression. You are the honest witness. You do not condemn what you see. You do not decorate it with false optimism. You look directly at the repeated relationship, the recurring number, the familiar ending, and the emotional sentence beneath it. Then you choose an instruction that no longer agrees with the wound. The reflection is not your enemy. It is your report. And reports can change when the source changes. Starting now, read your circumstances without hatred. Listen beneath your complaints, and notice the order your feeling keeps giving to the deeper mind. So if the reflection is honest, and the instruction is yours, then the real question is not why this keeps happening. It is why the order refuses to be cancelled. You have tried to stop this pattern before, and you failed, and you concluded you were weak. You were not weak. You were swimming upstream in a river you were feeding. You made a resolution, gathered your strength, and promised yourself that this time would be different. Then the familiar result appeared, and your fear rushed toward it like water, finding the old channel. You thought the failure proved the pattern was stronger than you. It did not. The pattern was being renewed through your own reaction. That is the wound. You resist the surface. Beneath the surface, the current keeps moving. Your conscious mind announces a new direction, but your deeper mind receives the emotional message repeated underneath your words. You say, "I am finished with this," while your body says, "This always happens to me." The deeper command carries more force. Your mind obeys the order with the strongest feeling behind it. You may call the pattern bad luck, bad timing, or an inherited curse. Yet each time it returns, you give it attention. You inspect it, fear it, rehearse it, and argue with its presence. Your dread does not cancel the order. Dread repeats it. The current deepens. Imagine a river moving through a narrow valley. You can stand at the edge and command the water to turn. You can clench your fists, shout at the surface, and swear that tomorrow it will flow somewhere else. The river does not debate you. It follows the channel already carved beneath it. Your willpower fights the water. Your emotional habit shapes the valley. This is why a new resolution often dissolves before the month is finished. In the beginning, your conscious mind feels powerful because the desire is fresh. You rise early, speak new words, and picture a different result. But beneath that effort, the old current carries yesterday's fear, yesterday's expectation, and yesterday's private conclusion about what is possible for you. The surface spark fades. The underground movement continues. By the third week, your conscious excitement has weakened, and the old instruction is still traveling. You think you have lost discipline. You have not lost discipline. You have encountered a command that has been emotionally repeated for years. Willpower pushes. The subconscious proceeds. Joseph Murphy understood this hidden division. He taught that your deeper mind responds to the impressions you accept, especially when you impress them with feeling. Prayer, in this view, is not begging a distant power to change your life. It is the deliberate planting of a completed reality within you, spoken with calm certainty and received as already true. But cold words barely move the water. An affirmation repeated without feeling touches the surface and disappears. A sentence joined with relief, gratitude, and inner recognition enters the current itself. Your subconscious does not measure how many times you speak. It receives the emotional meaning beneath your speech. Emotion is the speed of the river. A calm instruction moves steadily. A terrified instruction travels instantly. When you imagine loss with panic, your body reacts before the event arrives. Your attention narrows, your breathing changes, and your whole inner system begins treating the imagined result as present fact. The thought has become an order because your feeling gave it velocity. Fear is fast water. This does not mean you are guilty for every frightening thought that passes through you. A passing thought is not the same as a settled command. The danger begins when you return to the thought, examine it for hours, and repeatedly feel the same conclusion as if it were unavoidable. You return, you react, you renew. When the pattern appears, you may say, "I knew this would happen." That sentence seems like a prediction, but it is also a reinforcement. You may tell yourself, "Nothing ever works for me." That sounds like a description, but it becomes a direction. You may quietly ask why you are always abandoned, always overlooked, always delayed, always forced to struggle. The river hears the emotional verdict. Why does the same result keep finding you? Why does your fear become strongest just before the old outcome arrives? Why does your mind remember every defeat more vividly than every exception? Because attention is the substance through which the order survives. The pattern does not need your belief to keep running. It only needs your attention, and dread is the most concentrated form of attention there is. You may hate the result and still feed it. You may reject the pattern consciously and still keep it alive through constant inner contact. Your resistance can become devotion. You stare at what you do not want. You monitor it for signs. You scan every conversation, every bill, every silence, every change in tone. You look for proof that the old outcome is returning, and your nervous system treats that search as an instruction to continue producing evidence. Silence commands knowing. Love expands boundaries. You have been trained to think, Reaction is harmless. It is not harmless when repeated. Reaction becomes rehearsal. Rehearsal becomes expectation. Expectation bends your choices, your posture, your timing, and the meaning you assign to every event. Then the outer pattern appears again, and you call it confirmation. The river has no hatred for you. It carries whatever enters it. If resentment enters, resentment travels. If terror enters, terror travels. If gratitude enters, gratitude begins changing the direction of your inner movement. This is why gratitude has unusual power. Gratitude is not pretending that an unwanted condition is pleasant. It is emotionally receiving the desired reality before the outer evidence arrives. You give thanks as if the answer is already moving toward you, and your subconscious begins accepting a different channel. Do not force it. Relaxation matters because strain belongs to the old current. When you become quiet, especially in the soft interval before sleep, the conscious guard loosens. You are no longer arguing with every possibility. You are standing closer to the source of the river, where a new direction can enter without being rejected. Speak there. Do not say, "I hope I escape this." That keeps your attention on escape. Say what is already becoming true. Feel the steadiness of being safe. Feel the dignity of being chosen. Feel the peace of receiving what you once chased. Let the statement become an inner event, not a desperate performance. Then release it. Trust is not passivity. Trust is refusing to dig up the seed every morning to inspect its progress. Your work is to impress the new direction and stop feeding the old one with panic. When the former result appears, you do not need to celebrate it, curse it, or study it for hours. You simply stop giving it your life. This is where your wound begins to close. You no longer interpret the repetition as proof of permanent failure. You recognize it as the visible curve of a current that has been reinforced. You see the connection between the private feeling and the public result without turning that recognition into shame. Yesterday claims authority. Impatience uproots seeds. You did not choose every painful event that entered your life. You did not consciously design every betrayal, delay, or loss. But you have the power to decide what meaning continues moving through you now. You can stop calling yourself cursed. You can stop treating the past as an oracle. The river is old. The river is not eternal. Every pattern has a source. Somewhere within you, an instruction was accepted as necessary, inevitable, or deserved. Perhaps it began as protection. Perhaps your mind concluded that expecting disappointment would make disappointment less painful. Perhaps you learned to remain tense because calm never felt safe. The protection became the prison. You do not heal by attacking the prison walls. You heal by withdrawing the command that keeps rebuilding them. Each time the old result appears, you answer differently inside. You may still feel the first wave of fear. You may still notice the familiar tightening in your chest. But you do not add a second wave. You do not say, "Here it is again, and it will never end." You do not send anger downstream. You breathe, recognize the old current, and introduce a new instruction with enough feeling to reach beneath the surface. This is changing now. I am safe to receive a different result. My life is not required to repeat this. Let the words become quiet. The subconscious mind is not your enemy. It is faithful to the impression you repeatedly give it. It does not stop to judge whether an instruction is noble or destructive. It does not require your intellectual agreement. It follows the emotional pattern you continue to authorize. The mind records, the feeling directs. You are not fighting a monster. You are redirecting a river. At first, the old water still rushes through the channel. Do not mistake its presence for defeat. A current does not reverse because you announce a new destination once. It changes because you stop feeding the old movement and steadily impress a new one. Your attention is the gate. When dread rises, you can notice it without kneeling before it. When resentment appears, you can refuse to make it your nightly prayer. You can stop turning the unwanted result into the central image of your inner life. What you repeatedly feel, you repeatedly strengthen. So tonight, before sleep, do not beg for rescue from the pattern. Relax your body. Speak the desired condition as accomplished fact. Feel gratitude before evidence. Then let the image sink beneath the noise, where the deeper current receives it. You are the interpreter of your own repetitions. You are not the victim of an invisible command. You are not the prisoner of yesterday's channel. Fear shouts diversion. Shadows imitate substance. The old order survives only while you keep submitting it through fear, resentment, and constant attention. Withdraw the force. The river is turning. Not because you fought harder, but because you finally stopped feeding the direction that wounded you. Starting now, when the old pattern appears, you will recognize the current before you call it destiny. And you will place a different command into the water. But nobody taught you this, and that is not an accident, because this knowledge was written down long before Joseph Murphy, and then it was buried. Every tradition that survived more than 1,000 years knew this, and every one of them said it in a way designed to be forgotten by the wrong ears. The knowledge was not destroyed, it was buried. Not buried in the ground, but beneath symbols, ceremonies, prayers, and stories that required you to look deeper than the surface. The truth was placed under layers of language, like a living root beneath ancient soil. You could walk over it for centuries and never realize what was feeding the tree. You are standing in that soil now. Your subconscious mind does not begin with modern psychology. It does not belong to the latest book, the newest seminar, or the most polished affirmation. It is older than every religion that still has a name, older than memory. The same discovery keeps appearing wherever the ancient mind looks inward. The word accepted within becomes the condition experienced without. Your inner command does not remain inside you. It travels downward into the hidden soil of consciousness, and from there it rises into your circumstances. The root receives. The branch reveals. This is why Joseph Murphy spent decades studying Vedic texts, Hebrew scripture, and the mystery schools. He was not searching for a fashionable technique. He was tracing a root system. Across distant traditions, separated by language and centuries, he reported the same finding. The inner word governs the outer world. Different symbols, same root. The ancient sages did not always speak in the language of the subconscious. They spoke of spirit, seed, kingdom, breath, name, or word. Yet beneath the vocabulary, the structure remains unchanged. Something enters the hidden interior, Something is accepted there. Then the visible life begins to express what the unseen has received. You plant the command first. The harvest comes later. That is why your repeated life pattern carries such significance. You may think the same disappointment simply keeps finding you. You may blame timing, luck, family history, or the strange cruelty of circumstances. But the deeper truth is more intimate. Your inner world keeps giving the same order, and your outer world keeps obeying it. The pattern is not random, it is rooted. You may have been saying silently, "I am always overlooked." You may have been saying, "Nothing works for me." You may have been saying, "I have to struggle for everything." These sentences can feel like observations, but your subconscious receives them as instructions. Your mind is not debating them. Your mind is growing them. A root does not argue with the seed. It does not ask whether the seed deserves to become a tree. It simply begins its work according to the pattern placed inside it. Your subconscious functions with the same quiet obedience. It does not ask whether your inner statement is fair, intelligent, or supported by evidence. It accepts what you impress upon it with conviction and feeling. The conscious mind chooses. The subconscious mind reproduces. This is the two-part mind described by writers such as Thomas Troward, Charles Hannell, James Allen, and Wallace Wattles. They wrote between 1900 and 1930, yet none of them invented the principle. They found it. Each approached the same hidden tree from a different side, touched a different root, and described the same movement from inward cause to outward expression. Their language differed. The law did not. Troward described the creative intelligence working through consciousness. Hannell emphasized the relation between thought and universal activity. Allen showed how inner character becomes outer condition. Wattles taught that thought, held with certainty, organizes the direction of your life. They were not creating a new belief system. They were remembering an old inheritance. You are the heir. Not the heir of a particular religion. Not the heir of a secret society. You are the heir of the deep human discovery that your inner word has authority. The ancient traditions did not merely teach you to speak to the divine. They taught beneath the surface that your speech participates in the ordering of your experience. That fact was protected carefully. The technique was not the most dangerous part. The dangerous part was the realization that you were permitted to give the order at all. If you believe you are powerless, you remain easy to govern. If you understand that your accepted word directs the roots of your experience, you become responsible for what you plant. That responsibility can feel frightening. So does freedom. Appreciation magnifies supply. Rejection wounds ego. The victim waits for conditions. The heir establishes a condition within. This does not mean your conscious wishes instantly control every event. A root system does not produce a tree in a single afternoon. Your subconscious works through repetition, emotional acceptance, expectation, attention, and action. What you repeatedly feel as true becomes a deep instruction. And deep instructions continue working after the surface mind has moved on. Your passing thought is a leaf. Your accepted belief is a root. This is why cold repetition often changes nothing. You can speak beautiful words, while carrying the opposite feeling beneath them. You can repeat, "I am prosperous," while inwardly expecting loss. You can say, "I am loved," while preparing yourself for rejection. The subconscious does not respond to empty sound. It responds to the living impression beneath the sound. Feeling gives the word moisture. Expectation gives it depth. Gratitude carries particular power because it assumes completion. When you give thanks for what you desire as though it has already entered your life, you stop standing outside the condition and begin occupying it inwardly. You are no longer begging the soil to become fertile. You are impressing it with the shape of the tree you accept as real. Prayer, in its older form, is not helpless pleading. It is inward planting. The Aramaic and Hebrew phrasing of ancient prayer often carries the force of a decree more than a request. It speaks as an instruction, an establishment, a declaration of what is to be. You can hear the difference in the posture of the words. Begging says, "If this is possible, perhaps allow it." Authority says, "This is the order I accept." The root responds to authority, not desperation. When you pray from panic, you may impress panic more deeply. When you pray from lack, you may continue instructing your mind to search for lack. But when you relax, speak your desire as an accomplished fact, feel its reality, and release it into the hidden intelligence, you plant a different command. Relaxation opens the soil. Trust allows the root to work. This is why the moments before sleep matter. As your conscious guard softens, the deeper mind becomes more receptive. The sentences you carry into sleep are not harmless. They are late-night planting. If you fall asleep, rehearsing defeat, fear, and resentment, you send those conditions downward. When the surface mind is least prepared to challenge them, choose your final words carefully. The night remembers. You do not need to force the result. A root does not strain to become a branch. It receives the pattern, gathers what it needs, and moves according to a law deeper than noise. Your work is not to shout at your subconscious until it obeys. Your work is to give it an instruction you can accept, feel, and return to with calm persistence. Fear commands quickly. Faith commands deeply. This is why your old identity can continue producing old circumstances, even after your conscious mind declares that you want change. The surface says, "I want abundance." The root may still hold. Abundance is unsafe. "I want intimacy." The root may still hold. Closeness ends in pain. The surface makes a wish, but the hidden belief issues the order. The deeper command wins. The root decides the fruit. You do not need to condemn yourself for this. Shame does not remove a root. Awareness does. Doors permit communion. Wounds imprison attention. Once you recognize the instruction, you can stop calling it destiny and begin replacing it. You can ask yourself what sentence your life has been hearing from you. Not what you claim to want. What you repeatedly expect. What do you assume before the day begins? What conclusion do you carry after every disappointment? What identity do you defend, even while asking for its opposite? These questions expose the root beneath the visible pattern. Then speak differently. Not with frantic performance, but with quiet authority. Let the new word become. Let it acquire feeling. Let gratitude make it present. At night, when the conscious branches grow still, Return to the condition you have chosen, and let the subconscious receive it without argument. You are not trying to deceive yourself. You are educating the root. Every tradition that carried this knowledge understood that repetition was not mere superstition. Repetition establishes depth. What is repeated with emotion becomes natural. What becomes natural begins to direct perception, behavior, relationships, and opportunity. The inner order moves through you until your life begins to resemble it. The visible tree does not appear from nowhere. It reveals what was accepted below. This is the ancient continuity you have inherited. The Vedic seer, the Hebrew prophet, the Aramaic teacher, the mystery school initiate, and the early 20th century mental scientist were not isolated inventors. They were witnesses standing around the same living tree. You are not discovering a trick. You are returning to your inheritance. The world taught you to beg for permission. The root system remembers your authority. The world taught you to wait for evidence. The root system responds to the order you accept before evidence appears. The world trained you to repeat conditions. Your deeper mind waits for a new command. The old tree still lives. Its roots are in you. So choose the sentence that will enter the hidden soil tonight. Speak it as accomplished. Feel it without strain. Give thanks, as if the condition is already taking form, because within you it is. The first movement may be invisible, but invisible does not mean inactive. The root is working. You are not the branch trapped by yesterday. You are the heir who can plant today. And starting now, every word you accept becomes an instruction to the life rising through you. Which raises the harder question. If this was known everywhere, why does almost nobody alive today know it? Because the truth was never removed. It was placed beneath the surface, waiting for you to claim it. And now that you have heard it, your next thought is already planting the tree. Knowledge this practical does not vanish by accident. It gets edited. Not erased. Edited. The difference matters because somewhere beneath the version you received, the original map still exists. You feel this whenever your life repeats a pattern you never consciously chose. Whenever the same fear appears in a new disguise, whenever you reach the same border after taking a different road, your frustration is evidence. You are not stupid. You are navigating with damaged instructions. The territory is real, but the map in your hands is missing the road that explains why the territory keeps answering you. That road leads inward. For thousands of years, you were given fragments of this knowledge. A priest held one corner, a healer held another, a philosopher carried a third. Each fragment described the same hidden geography, but the pieces were separated until the whole landscape became difficult to recognize. Religion spoke about prayer and faith. Medicine spoke about nerves, habits, and the invisible forces shaping the body. Philosophy spoke about consciousness, will, and the nature of reality. Each field had a piece of the map, but no single institution allowed you to see the complete route. The road was not destroyed. It was scattered. And a scattered map is almost as useful as no map at all. You can hold the symbol without finding the destination. You can repeat the ritual without understanding the mechanism. You can speak about healing, destiny, or providence, while remaining unaware that your own inner commands are guiding the journey. Honesty feeds character. Plenty multiplies provision. That distinction is the first marking on the original map. You have been trained to imagine your life as something delivered from outside. Circumstances arrived. Events happen. Success is granted. Failure is assigned. Your mind appears to sit in the passenger seat, watching the road change without touching the wheel. But the deeper law is different. Your conscious mind selects the direction, and your subconscious mind accepts the order. It does not argue with every instruction. It does not stop to investigate whether the command serves your future or repeats your past. It receives. Then it moves through the territory. This is why an unconscious belief can govern you more powerfully than a conscious wish. You may say you want freedom, while repeatedly instructing yourself that safety requires staying small. You may desire love, while silently ordering your inner world to expect abandonment. You may ask for abundance, while treating lack as the only reliable landmark. Your life follows the stronger command, not the loudest sentence, the deepest order. Most people will never hear this. They are taught to blame the road, the weather, the economy, the family, the timing, and the cruel decisions of strangers. Some of those conditions matter, but the hidden instruction still determines what you notice, what you expect, what you tolerate, and what you call possible. The map has been redrawn around the assumption that you are powerless. A population that knows it issues its own orders is difficult to advertise to. A culture that believes its life is delivered from outside is a market. If you believe your dissatisfaction can only be solved by purchasing something external, you remain easy to direct. Principles invite mastery. Awareness exceeds names. This does not mean you caused every wound. It does not mean you should condemn yourself for every detour. Shame is another false road, and it leads back to the same territory. The purpose of this knowledge is not to make you guilty. It is to return the compass to your hand. There is a difference between blame and authorship. Blame says, "You are condemned by what happened." Authorship says, "You can now choose what happens next." Blame locks you inside the old coordinates. Awareness gives you a new position from which to travel. You are not the mistake on the map. You are the custodian of the map. That is why your frustration begins to change. When you understand the buried mechanism, the repeated pattern is no longer proof that you are cursed, broken, or incapable of transformation. It is a message from the territory. Somewhere, an old order is still being transmitted. Your subconscious mind is not your enemy. It is obedient. Too obedient, perhaps. It accepts the emotional atmosphere you repeatedly create, then organizes your perceptions and responses around it. Speak defeat often enough, and defeat becomes familiar ground. Expect rejection, and your attention begins charting every sign of rejection. Imagine yourself unworthy, and even kindness may appear suspicious, temporary, or undeserved. The map starts confirming itself. This is the trap. You see what you expected to see. Then treat the evidence as proof that your expectation was accurate. You walk through the same valley and call the valley destiny. You pass the same closed gate and conclude that no road exists beyond it. But the gate is not the whole territory. The old texts knew this. Their language became symbolic, because direct knowledge was guarded, ritualized, and covered in layers of myth. The stories spoke of enchanted kingdoms, hidden roads, evil forces, transformations, and powers beneath ordinary appearances. These were not merely childish tales. They preserved a memory of unseen laws in images that could travel through generations. The map survived inside the story. The villain represented the force that distorts your inner direction. The enchanted forest represented territory you could not navigate by familiar logic. The impossible journey represented the movement from an inherited identity toward a chosen one. The hero did not conquer the world by force. The hero discovered the correct path. Your inner world also contains false landmarks. Fear tells you that delay means denial. Habit tells you that the past is a prophecy. Resentment tells you that your wound is an identity. These instructions feel like facts because they have been repeated with emotion. Emotion marks the map. This is why cold affirmations often fail. Words without feeling are pencil marks that never reach the deeper chart. Your subconscious responds to the meaning carried by the words, to the inner picture, to the felt certainty behind the statement. You can repeat, "I am secured," while your body prepares for disaster. The deeper order remains. Stay alert. Expect loss. Your mouth points north, while your nervous system keeps traveling south. The conscious mind declares. The subconscious mind demonstrates. Prayer, in its original power, is not begging the territory to change. It is placing a new destination into the deeper map and accepting it as real before the visible road confirms it. You relax the surface mind, speak the desire as an accomplished fact, and allow feeling to make the instruction believable. Then you release it. You do not dig up the seed every hour to check whether it has obeyed. You give the order, impress it with conviction, and stop fighting the ground. Gratitude becomes powerful here because gratitude assumes arrival. It tells the subconscious that what you desire belongs within your current reality, not in some unreachable country. The old map says, "I will be grateful when I received." The original map says, "I receive and gratitude confirms it." That is not fantasy, it is direction. The moments before sleep are especially important because the guard at the border becomes quiet. The analytical mind loosens its grip, and the deeper mind becomes more receptive to the images and emotions you carry across the threshold. What you repeat there matters. If you fall asleep rehearsing failure, your subconscious receives failure as the final order of the day. If you fall asleep feeling relief, fulfillment, and quiet certainty, you place different coordinates into the unseen system that shapes your responses. You are always giving instructions. Silence does not mean no order is being issued. Your worry is an order. Your expectation is an order. Your repeated complaint is an order. Your secret assumption about what you deserve is an order. The map is listening. This is where the buried knowledge becomes dangerous to the old arrangement. Once you understand that your inner commands shape the routes you repeatedly take, you stop waiting for permission from circumstances. You become less available to manipulation. You stop treating every advertisement, insult, delay, and prediction as a final authority. The outside world offers information. It does not own your destination. The territory responds to the map you carry, But the map can be redrawn, not through frantic effort, through sustained inner instruction. You choose a new premise, feel it before proofed, and return to it whenever the old road calls your name. The old pattern shouts. The new order settles. That is why transformation may feel quiet at first. You are not wrestling the entire territory into submission. You are changing the coordinates from which you interpret it. A different assumption makes different details visible. A different feeling produces different behavior. Different behavior opens roads that were always present but never entered. The road was not absent. Your attention was elsewhere. Murphy understood the urgency of making this plain. In 1963, he wrote in direct language because the older map had been buried beneath difficult words, rigid authority, and explanations that made simple laws appear unreachable. His work moved through millions of hands, yet it was often dismissed as sentiment, as though clear language made the principle less serious. But simplicity threatens confusion. If you can understand that the subconscious accepts repeated impressions, then you can understand why your inner speech matters. If you can feel that a fulfilled desire creates a different inner posture, then you can begin directing your life before visible confirmation appears. The map does not need to impress you. It needs to guide you. You were handed a map of the territory, with the most important road erased, and you have been driving it your whole life. You learned the names of the cities, the rules of the borders, and the dangers along the highway. But you were never shown the route, connecting thought, feeling, expectation, and experience. Now the erased line is visible. Why was it hidden? Why were the fragments separated? Why does the original road appear in your hands only now? Because you are ready to stop treating repetition as fate. Not someday. Now you can watch the order forming in real time. Notice the phrase that rises automatically. Notice the emotion that follows. Notice the prediction you accept without examination. These are not harmless passing details. They are signs pointing to the route. Your subconscious is preparing to travel. Do not attack the old map. Replace it. The past route loses power when you stop renewing its instructions. You do not need to prove that the old belief was wrong every morning. You need to establish a stronger direction and inhabit it until it becomes familiar. Certainty is built by return. Return to the desired truth when circumstances contradict it. Return when fear presents its evidence. Return before sleep when the conscious guard softens. Speak as though the destination is already part of your inner territory, and let gratitude give the statement weight. Your subconscious obeys the order you repeatedly make believable. That is the ancient knowledge beneath the fragments. The priest called it faith. The healer called it restoration. The philosopher called it mind. Murphy called it the subconscious. Different names marked the same road. The road leads to you. So now you have the map back. And the next thing a person always asks, when they hold a real map, is the only question that matters. How does the ground actually work? You are the custodian of the map. Not tomorrow, not after the proof arrives. Right now, your next thought places a mark upon the territory, and the ground is already beginning to answer. Your subconscious mind is not listening to your sentences. It is listening to your pitch. You may say, I am set. while something beneath your words trembles with danger. You may repeat, "I am prosperous," while your inner note carries the strain of scarcity. Then your life answers the note you actually sound. The words are only the surface. Your subconscious mind receives the vibration beneath them, the emotional tone that gives them force. It does not pause to debate your grammar. It does not inspect your vocabulary. It recognizes the command hidden inside your feeling, and then it begins arranging your attention, your choices, and your reactions around that command. You are already transmitting. Imagine a tuning fork resting in a silent room. Its shape is simple, its purpose is precise. When struck, it does not shout. It does not chase anything. It vibrates at its own frequency, and the air carries that frequency outward. Across the room, another fork waits. If the second fork is tuned to the identical pitch, it begins to vibrate without being touched. No hand reaches across the space. No visible thread connects the two. The first fork sounds, and the second answers. This is sympathetic resonance. Science is only beginning to glimpse how much of life is organized through matching. But the principle itself is easy to observe. Strike one tuning fork, and an untouched fork of identical frequency begins singing across open air. Forks of any other pitch remain still. 3 seconds. That is the entire mechanism of matching. Your inner life works through the same kind of correspondence. You carry a dominant emotional tone, and your subconscious mind keeps responding to it. You may call the tone fear, expectation, resentment, trust, unworthiness, or quiet certainty. Whatever name you give it, the tone becomes the instruction. Waves disturb surfaces. Urgency distrusts timing. You are not merely repeating words, you are striking a fork. When you speak an affirmation with a tense voice, the sentence may promise abundance, but the vibration underneath it says, "I am waiting for proof. I am afraid this will disappear. I do not believe I am safe without it." Your lips announce wealth. Your nervous system announces danger. Your subconscious hears the stronger signal. The words say abundance. The pitch says panic. And your life answers the pitch. This is why cold repetition often leaves you unchanged. You can recite a beautiful sentence 100 times while feeling the opposite of its meaning. You can write your desire in a journal each morning, then spend the rest of the day rehearsing doubt. You can say that love is coming while scanning every silence for rejection. Your mouth speaks the wish. Your inner fork sounds the command. The subconscious does not hear language as you hear it. It registers the emotional tone attached to language. A sentence filled with gratitude has a different resonance from the same sentence spoken through desperation. "I am receiving" can carry openness, or it can carry the desperate pressure of someone trying to force the universe to prove itself. The sentence is identical. The order is not. This is why Joseph Murphy placed such importance on feeling. Feeling is not decoration added to an affirmation. Feeling is the substance that makes the affirmation intelligible to the deeper mind. When you imagine your desire as already accomplished, then relax into the emotional fact of it. You give the subconscious a clear pitch to reproduce. You are not begging, you are impressing. Prayer, in its deeper form, is not a negotiation with a distant power. It is the deliberate striking of an inner fork. You enter a quieter state, especially as sleep approaches, when your conscious resistance softens. You speak from the condition you choose to inhabit. You allow the feeling to become familiar. Then you release the sound into the deeper chambers of your mind. The subconscious does not need a speech. It needs a tone. If your desire is peace, you cannot practice it only in peaceful circumstances. You must begin sounding peaceful before the outer room agrees with you. If your desire is confident, you must allow the inner fork of confidence to vibrate, while evidence is still absent. If your desire is love, you must stop using loneliness as your identity, even while loneliness still visits. The outer world is not the first instrument. You are. Your circumstances often reveal the note you have been striking repeatedly. Not every event is a direct punishment or reward. Not every difficulty is something you consciously ordered. But the patterns that return, the reactions that repeat, and the opportunities you continually accept or reject often carry the signature of your dominant resonance. You cannot be out of tune with your dominant inner note. Whatever it is, your life hums back at exactly that frequency. You may change locations, relationships, jobs, and appearances, but if the inner pitch remains unchanged, the same emotional arrangement returns in a different form. The names change. The scene changes. The familiar tension remains. You wonder why the pattern follows you. Yet the pattern is not following you. You are sounding it. The wounded self looks for a guilty cause. The awakened self looks for a governing tone. Spirit announces possibility. Mind selects matter. This does not mean you condemn yourself for every painful event. It means you stop surrendering your instrument to an unconscious hand. You can retune. But first, you must hear what is playing. Listen to the first feeling that rises when you imagine receiving what you want. Do you feel relief, or do you feel suspicion? Does your body open, or does it brace? Do you become grateful, or do you immediately calculate how the gift could be taken away? The body tells the truth of the pitch. Why does the same fear return when the circumstances change? Why does success feel dangerous when you finally approach it? Why does your mind reject the very answer your lips keep requesting? The answer is not hidden in the sentence. It is hidden in the vibration beneath it. You may say, "I want freedom," while carrying the pitch of punishment. You may say, "I want connection," while carrying the pitch of self-protection. You may say, "I want change," while carrying the pitch of familiarity. Your subconscious obeys the deeper order, because that order is repeated with greater emotional force. The conscious mind chooses words. The subconscious chooses what feels real. This is why gratitude is so powerful when it is genuine. Gratitude shifts the inner instrument from reaching toward possession to recognizing possession. You do not use gratitude to deceive yourself. You use it to establish the emotional atmosphere in which your desire is no longer treated as impossible. A quiet, "thank you," can be stronger than 100 strained declarations. Not because the words are magical, because the pitch is coherent. When you give thanks for what you desire, as if it has already entered your experience, you teach your subconscious a new normal. You are not forcing a picture into existence. You are making the desired condition emotionally familiar. The deeper mind accepts what you repeatedly experience inwardly, especially when the feeling is calm, vivid, and unopposed. Familiarity is a command. Your subconscious accepts repeated emotional impressions as instructions about what belongs to you. If rejection feels familiar, you may unconsciously select conversations that confirm it. If struggle feels familiar, ease may appear suspicious. If being overlooked feels familiar, recognition may make you retreat before it can settle. The untouched fork answers the struck fork. It does not ask whether the sound is deserved. It does not decide whether the vibration is good or bad. It responds according to likeness. Your subconscious works with the same impartial precision. It does not punish fear. It reproduces the pattern fear establishes. It does not reward trust. It organizes your inner and outer responses around the signal trust provides. The instrument does not argue. It resonates. This is where your responsibility becomes sacred. You are not responsible for every pitch that first entered your mind. You are responsible for the pitch you continue to practice after you recognize it. An old command may have been impressed during childhood, through loss, criticism, instability, or repeated disappointment. But an inherited note is not a permanent destiny. You can stop striking it. Do not fight the old vibration with hatred. Resistance gives it more energy. Instead, become still enough to hear the new note. Speak your chosen condition gently. Let your body experience a small amount of its reality now. Feel what safety feels like before the proof arrives. Feel what receiving feels like before the result appears. The new pitch may sound weak at first. That does not mean it is false. Every instrument sounds unfamiliar after years of neglect. Your first experience of inner certainty may feel strangely quiet. Your first attempt at trust may feel exposed. Your first peaceful thought may seem less convincing than the old alarm, because alarm has been rehearsed longer. Do not mistake intensity for truth. Panic is loud. Certainty is often quiet. The old note demands immediate evidence. The new note remains steady without demanding applause. The old note scans the room for threats. The new note inhabits the chosen reality before the room confirms it. The old note repeats because it fears disappearance. The new note repeats because it has become natural. That is the difference between forcing and impressing. You are the clay and the sculptor. You are the surface that receives experience. And you are the hand that chooses what to strike. You are not trapped inside the music of your past. You are the awareness that can hear it, name it, and introduce another frequency into the silence. Start with the emotional order, not the perfect sentence. Before sleep, when the conscious guard grows soft, choose a simple inner condition. Let the desire be accomplished in your imagination. Feel the relief of no longer needing to chase it. Then fall asleep with that note still sounding. Do not strain. A tuning fork does not scream itself into resonance. It vibrates, and the matching instrument answers. Your work is not to force every circumstance into obedience. Your work is to become consistent enough that the new pitch becomes the dominant instruction. Then your attention begins to match it. Your decisions begin to match it. Your conversations, expectations, and opportunities begin to gather around it. What once seemed distant starts appearing as a natural continuation of who you are becoming inwardly. The world is not ignoring you. It is answering accurately. If you keep receiving the same pattern, do not ask only what the pattern is doing. Ask what note you are repeatedly sounding beneath your words. Listen without judgment. Find the fear beneath the ambition, the doubt beneath the prayer, the expectation beneath the complaint. Then choose again. Not tomorrow, not after proof arrives. Right now, you can strike a different fork and allow your entire inner field to hear it. You are the loom and the weaver, and the first change begins when you stop calling the old resonance your identity. But resonance only explains the matching, not the waiting, and every order you have ever given had to wait somewhere before it appeared. The soil does not ask whether you meant to plant that. It receives the seed, covers it, and begins its silent work. So what is growing beneath the surface of your life right now? Shaped by the orders you repeat without noticing. You may call it bad luck. You may call it personality. But the ground does not use those names. It responds to what enters it consistently. Whether the seed arrives through deliberate intention or through a frightened thought, dropped in during the night, your subconscious is soiled. It does not stand above you with a verdict. It does not examine your thought and decide whether you deserve its harvest. It does not say, "This fear is irrational, so I will refuse it." It simply receives the impression, holds it in darkness, and moves it toward expression. That is why the same pattern can return with different faces. The relationship changes. The anxiety remains. The job changes. The feeling of being overlooked remains. The address changes. The bank balance changes. The calendar changes. Yet the inner instruction continues beneath everything, quietly directing the roots. The soil remembers. You are the sower, not the victim of the field, not the helpless creature waiting for weather to improve. You are the one placing impressions into the ground, sometimes consciously, sometimes through repetition, sometimes through the emotional commands you issue when no one is watching. Your mind may look like a garden neglected for years, crowded with old growth and tangled roots. But even there, the law is working impartially. The garden brings forth whatever has been planted deeply enough to survive. Fear grows fear. Trust grows trust. Expectation grows evidence of expectation. Surrender conducts life. Bitterness preserves burden. This does not mean every event is chosen by a single passing thought. It means your repeated inner posture becomes fertile ground for certain choices, interpretations, habits, and circumstances. Your subconscious takes the instruction you return to most often and makes it easier to think, feel, and act from that position tomorrow. You tell yourself, "Nothing works for me," and the soil does not argue. It begins organizing your attention around disappointment. It guides your eyes toward rejection, delay, and lack. It makes supportive evidence feel small, while every inconvenience becomes proof. You tell yourself, "I am always abandoned," and the seed does not remain a sentence. It becomes vigilance. Vigilance becomes tension. Tension changes your words, your timing, your expression. Then the reaction you feared appears, and you call it confirmation. The order becomes a harvest. You did not need to shout it. You only needed to keep returning to it. Repetition is not persuasion. It is planting depth. A thought repeated once may rest near the surface, easily disturbed by another thought. A thought returned to daily is pressed farther into the soil. Emotion moistens it. Attention warms it. Familiarity breaks down the resistance around it. Eventually, the thought no longer feels like an idea you are considering. It feels like the natural shape of reality. That is the moment the seed takes root. Neurons that fire together, wire together. A thought pattern, repeated daily, physically thickens the connection carrying it, until the root becomes the path of least resistance. Science is only beginning to glimpse this bridge between inner repetition and outer behavior, but you can recognize it directly in your own life. The first time you think a thought, it may feel foreign. The 50th time, it feels familiar. The 500th time, it can feel like truth. Familiar is not the same as true. But the subconscious does not require truth. It responds to impressiveness, emotional force, and repetition. It learns what you practice. It strengthens what you revisit. It turns a repeated direction into an automatic movement through the field. This is why cold words often produce little change. You can repeat a desired statement while your deeper feeling rehearses its opposite. Your mouth plants abundance while your body keeps watering danger. Your lips speak trust while your imagination keeps digging through the soil for evidence of loss. The deeper seed wins. Feeling is the water. You do not need frantic emotion. You need a quiet sense of reality. When you speak an intention as already received, then allow your body to soften around it. The instruction enters without the struggle of force. Gratitude helps because gratitude assumes arrival. It treats the unseen seed as alive before the sprout has appeared. This is not pretending that current facts do not exist. It is refusing to make current facts the only authority. The surface shows old growth. The root is receiving new orders. You may not see a result tomorrow. That does not mean nothing is happening. A seed spends its first season beneath the surface, gathering strength where your eyes cannot follow. The most productive part of the work is invisible, because growth begins away from inspection. Nothing grows in the direction you are staring. You stare at the bank balance, demanding proof that prosperity has begun. You refresh the account again and again. You reread the message, searching for a change in its meaning. You scan your body for symptoms, checking whether fear has finally released its claim. Then you ask, why is nothing changing? Why has the answer not appeared? Why must you keep checking? The checking is not neutral. Every time you dig up the seed to inspect it, you disturb the root. You do not give the new impression time to establish itself. You plant confidence at night and uproot it by morning. You declare release, then return to the old evidence and ask it to determine whether your new order is valid. The soil cannot grow what you continually expose. Trust tends roots. Students memorize laws. Shame makes you stare at the garden and condemn every weed. Awareness shows you which seeds are receiving your attention. Shame says, this proves there is something wrong with you. Awareness says, this is what has been cultivated, and cultivation can change. The difference is immense. You are not required to hate the old growth. You are required to stop feeding it. A fearful thought may rise because it has roots, not because it has authority. You can notice it without signing your name beneath it. You can let it pass through the field without pressing it into the ground again. This is where patience becomes power. You may believe patience means waiting helplessly. It does not. Patience means continuing to give the chosen seed the conditions it needs, even when the surface has not yet responded. It means you stop demanding that the invisible obey your timetable. The seed does not hurry because you become impatient. Your subconscious does not rush because you check more often. It does not mature an impression through pressure. It receives the order, repeats the pattern, and allows the corresponding structure to form through many small movements. Your new thought changes what you notice. What you notice changes what you expect. What you expect changes how you move. How you move changes what you permit, pursue, and refuse. Slowly, the outer arrangement begins reflecting the inner planting. The harvest often arrives through ordinary doors. A conversation you would once have avoided. A decision you finally make. A boundary you stop apologizing for. A possibility you can now recognize, because your attention has become fertile enough to see it. The soil did not create these moments from nothing. It grew the inner condition that allowed you to meet them differently. That is the mechanism. Your subconscious is not a judge distributing rewards. It is not a guardian protecting you from your own commands. It is ground. Impartial ground. It will grow the fear with the same devotion it gives the intention. That impartiality can frighten you. It can also free you. If the field has been growing an old pattern, you do not need to curse the field. You need to change the planting. You need to stop calling the old harvest your identity. You need to understand that repeated thoughts are not harmless decorations inside your mind. They are instructions sent into living darkness. The past order may still be sprouting. Let it. You do not have to pull every old plant out in a single afternoon. You only have to stop giving it fresh seeds. Each time the familiar conclusion appears, you can choose not to deepen it. Each night, when the conscious guard softens and the mind becomes receptive, you can speak from the reality you are choosing rather than the condition you are leaving. Relax first, then impress the new direction gently. Feel it as received, not as begged for. Release it into the dark. The soil works after you stop interfering. The creature waits for proof. The creator plants before proof. The creature repeats what the world has shown. The creator gives the world a new instruction. You are the sower. And the field is already responding to what you have been saying, feeling, and expecting. Not later, not in some distant spiritual future. The roots are forming through the thoughts you return to today, through the meaning you attach to today, through the order you issue in the quiet moments today. So choose carefully. You are not the old harvest. You are the conscious hand beneath it, placing a different seed into the waiting ground. Give it repetition. Give it feeling. Give it silence after planting. And if orders grow in the dark, then there must be a particular hour when the ground lies open. And there is. Twice a day, for about 10 minutes, the door to your subconscious mind stands wide open. And you are almost certainly asleep or scrolling through both of them. You miss the hour, not because the hour is hidden. It arrives with perfect loyalty, twice each day, like a tide that does not need your permission to turn. But you have been trained to treat those moments as empty space, when they are actually the most powerful minutes your mind receives. The first comes just before sleep. The second comes just after waking. Your conscious guard grows tired. Its arguments lose their sharpness. The inner clock slows, and the tide begins to withdraw from the shore of waking thought. That is the opening. You have been searching for power in effort, discipline, strain, and repetition. Yet the deeper mind does not respond best to force. It responds when resistance is low, when the analytical voice stops inspecting every new instruction for danger. The door opens quietly. You are not trying to conquer the subconscious. You are entering at the hour when it is already listening. This is the mechanism Joseph Murphy called the sleepy state. He treated it as the central condition of the entire practice, because timing changes the meaning of your words. The same sentence spoken while you are tense and defensive can pass harmlessly through the mind. Spoken while you are drifting towards sleep, it can sink beneath the argument. Effort fights the tide. Timing moves with it. Science is only beginning to glimpse this transition in measurable terms. As you move towards sleep, brain activity shifts from beta into alpha and theta rhythms, while the critical analytical filtering of waking consciousness measurably drops away. Your guard steps aside. This does not mean you become unconscious. You remain aware enough to direct the current. You remain present enough to choose the final impression of the day. That final impression matters. The last 5 minutes of your day can carry more weight than the previous 15 hours combined. Because your mind does not enter sleep as an empty room. It enters sleep carrying an order. Whatever you hold at the edge of sleep is what gets filed. If you carry humiliation, the mind continues organizing around humiliation. If you carry fear, it keeps fear near the center of attention. If you carry the image of failure, the deeper current treats that image as familiar territory and guides tomorrow toward it again. Peace trusts unfolding. Compassion thaws souls. You have been giving instructions without realizing they are instructions. A remembered insult becomes an order. A rehearsed disaster becomes an order. A silent statement such as, "This always happens to me," becomes an order delivered at the most receptive hour of the day. Then the pattern renews itself. With precision, you wake and call it coincidence. You meet the same kind of resistance, repeat the same emotional sequence, choose the same explanation, and arrive at the same inner conclusion. The clock has not betrayed you. It has simply continued the command you placed inside it. Most people spend this exact window rehearsing the day's worst moment. You replay the face, the words, the failure, the injustice. You tightened around the memory, and then you wonder why the pattern returns with such accuracy. The subconscious does not ask whether the scene was fair. It does not debate whether you deserve another outcome. It receives the emotional weight you offer and begins preparing the next hour to match it. The analytical mind says, "I am only thinking." The deeper mind hears, "This is important." The conscious mind questions. The subconscious accepts. That is why cold repetition often produces so little. You can say 100 bright sentences while feeling none of them, and the deeper current recognizes the emptiness. Your words are the surface ripple. Your feeling is the tide beneath it. You need both. Speak the desire as an accomplished fact. Do not beg the mind to become what you want. Do not place your wish in some distant future, where it remains forever out of reach. Enter the sleepy state, soften your body, and let the sentence arrive as though the event is already true. I am safe now. I am chosen now. I am guided now. You do not shout these words. You let them become familiar. A command repeated with strain creates conflict. A command received with quiet feeling becomes direction. Complaint crowns conditions. Persistence confirms willing. You are not forcing reality. You are selecting the order that your inner clock continues to carry. Begin with relaxation. Let the day lose its grip. You do not need to solve the argument before sleep. You do not need to inspect every unfinished task. The tide is going out, and your work is not to chase it. Your work is to place one clear impression on the shore before the water recedes. What do you place there? What does your body feel before sleep? What order survives when your waking arguments fall silent? Let those questions remain exactly there, in that sequence, without adding another. Now listen closely. The hour does not require perfect belief. It requires willingness. You may still notice doubt. You may still feel the old pattern pulling against the new instruction. That does not cancel the process. It only shows you what has been repeated before. The old order is familiar. The new order is becoming familiar. The past speaks loudly. The chosen future speaks quietly. You do not need to overpower the past. You need to stop feeding it at the hour when the gate opens. This is where gratitude becomes more than good manners. When you give thanks for what you desire as though it has already arrived, you alter the emotional tone carried into sleep. You are no longer begging from absence. You are resting inside possession. Absence says, I will be well someday. Possession says, wellness is entering my life now. The first keeps watching the clock. The second changes what the clock is carrying. Your subconscious mind obeys every order you give it, but it does not receive every order equally. The hour determines how deeply the instruction travels. The feeling determines whether the instruction is alive. Repetition determines whether the new direction becomes the path of least resistance. This is why the practice is simple, but not casual. You relax, you speak, you feel, you release, then you sleep. Release does not mean indifference. It means you stop grabbing at the seed after placing it in the ground. You stop reopening the command to see whether it has worked. You stop correcting yourself with panic each morning. Trust is not passivity. Trust is allowing the inner tide to continue after your hands leave the wheel. The tide remembers its direction, and the morning offers another opening. Just after waking, before the day gathers its noise, you are still close to the same receptive state. Your thoughts have not fully hardened into their usual positions. You can set the first instruction before the world begins setting it for you. Do not reach immediately for the old story. Do not let the unfinished day rush into the new one. Give the first minutes a clear direction. I am guided through this day. I expect good to meet me. I move with calm certainty. The words are not magic because they sound beautiful. They are powerful because you place them at the moment when your critical guard is still lifting itself from sleep. That is the hour you have ignored. You have waited for confidence before speaking confidently. You have waited for evidence before feeling grateful. You have waited for the outside world to change before changing the order within. The clock reverses that sequence. You speak first. You feel first. You allow the outer pattern to catch up. The old way asks for proof, then gives permission. The new way gives the inner command, then allows proof to appear. You are not a prisoner of repetition. You are the keeper of the hour. This identity changes the entire practice. You no longer stumble into sleep, carrying whatever emotion the day threw at you. You become conscious at the gate. You become deliberate with the final impression. You recognize the tide instead of being dragged by it. Tonight, when drowsiness arrives, do less. Let your body grow heavy. Let the day become distant. Choose one sentence that describes the reality you accept now. Repeat it slowly, not as a performance, but as a quiet fact. Then add feeling. Feel the relief of being there. Feel the gratitude of receiving it. Feel the calm that would already exist if the answer had arrived. The subconscious does not need a speech. It needs a clear order delivered at the right hour. The hour is here twice a day. Do not sleep through it again. You have been handing your final moments to fear, then blaming the morning for returning it. Starting now, you reclaim the tide. You decide what enters the quiet. You decide what the deeper current carries forward. You now know the ground, the pitch, and the hour, which means there is nothing left standing between you and the exact words. A sculptor does not carve a face. He removes everything that is not the face, and he does it with one tool, in the same direction, every day. Your subconscious is stoned, not dead stone, responsive stone. It receives the pressure of your repeated thought, the warmth of your feeling, and the shape of the words you carry into the darkness before sleep. You are the sculptor, but your hand has been wandering. Tonight you carve one line. Most people will never hear this. They repeat a desire for 3 nights, feel no immediate change, and abandon the work just before the stone begins to yield. Then they choose another sentence, another image, another hope. They start a new statue every evening and wonder why nothing stands in the garden of their life. You need one sentence, not 10, not a page. 1. The subconscious does not respond to your argument. It responds to the order beneath your argument. It receives the phrases you repeat with feeling and treats them as instructions about what is real, what is safe, and what belongs to you. Your conscious mind debates. Your subconscious accepts. That is the division. The surface mind asks whether the sentence is possible. The deeper mind asks whether the sentence is familiar enough to become a pattern. The surface mind demands proof before belief. The deeper mind creates movement from belief. You are not trying to win an argument with yourself. You are placing a form inside living stone. Begin with a sentence of 6 to 8 words. Keep it short. Keep it present tense. Keep it in the first person, and remove every negation. Do not say, "I am not afraid." Your deeper mind still receives the image of fear. The word "not" does not erase the picture that follows it. It points toward the very condition you are attempting to leave. "I am not poor" keeps poverty nearby. "I am not rejected" keeps rejection in the room. "I do not fail" gives failure a chair beside you. Negation points backward. Creation points forward. Your sentence must describe the state you are allowing now. I am calm and supported. I am worthy of loving connection. I am becoming confident and clear. I am learning to trust my life. Count the words if you need to. 6 to 8 is enough. The sentence must fit in one breath, then test it. Say it aloud once, slowly. Do not ask whether it is completely true. That question belongs to the old guard at the doorway. Ask instead what the sentence does inside your body. Does your chest tighten? Does your throat close? Does your stomach contract? Does some hidden part of you rise and say, "That is impossible"? Your body tells you how far the chisel must travel. If the sentence produces strain, it is too far ahead of your present acceptance. I am wealthy and unstoppable may sound powerful, but if your body answers with panic, you have not given your subconscious a doorway. You have placed a mountain in front of it. So soften the sentence. I am becoming more secure. I am learning to receive. I am opening to steady prosperity. I am becoming comfortable with being loved. Soft does not mean weak. A softened sentence can enter the stone. A grand sentence that creates resistance strikes the surface and falls away. The goal is not to impress your conscious mind. The goal is to create a quiet inner yes. Tone matters more than truth. Let that remain clear. You are not forcing yourself to pretend. You are finding the wording that your whole system can carry, without rebellion. The sentence must feel believable enough to rest in, yet meaningful enough to change you. Masters embody laws. The creator selects. The old pattern repeats. The new order directs. Now choose the sentence that will become your tool. Write it down if that helps. Read it in daylight. Say it while walking. Notice whether it still feels clean when the excitement fades. Do not decorate it. Do not add explanations. Do not say, "I am becoming confident because I finally deserve it, after all I have suffered." That is a speech, not a chisel. Your subconscious does not need a courtroom presentation. It needs a clear impression. Use your own name only if it brings warmth. Use I if it feels intimate. Keep the sentence alive, simple and unfinished enough for your mind to enter it. Then wait for night. The most receptive hour arrives when the day has released you, but sleep has not yet taken you. You are lying down. Your body is heavy. The muscles have stopped holding the shape of the day. The conscious guard is tired, and the gate into the deeper mind stands open. Do not practice while rushing. Do not sit upright and fight your thoughts like an enemy. The sculptor does not attack the stone. He places the tool, applies pressure, and lets the material answer. Lie down comfortably. Let your arms become heavy. Let your jaw loosen. Let your forehead smooth. You do not need a perfect posture. You need the posture of surrender. Your body becomes still. Then speak the sentence, slowly, not loudly, not mechanically, not with the desperate force of someone trying to make the universe obey before morning. Say it as though you are reminding yourself of something already becoming natural. I am learning to receive. Pause. I am learning to receive. Let the words fall through you. Feel the meaning without manufacturing a dramatic emotion. A small warmth is enough. A slight relief is enough. Gratitude may appear. Let it appear. Prayer is not begging from a distant power. It is the deliberate placement of an accomplished direction into the deeper mind. You speak as though the desired state is entering your experience now, and you allow feeling to give the words weight. Cold repetition leaves a shallow mark. Feeling deepens the cut. Force bruises the stone. Trust shapes it. Repeat the sentence for roughly 10 minutes. Lazily, let the rhythm become almost like a lullaby. You are not trying to remain sharply focused. You are allowing the phrase to blur at the edges while its impression moves inward. If your attention wanders, return without irritation. The wandering mind is not failure. It is loose dust around the statue. Gather the tool again. Say the sentence. Rest. Say the sentence. As sleep approaches, let the words become softer. You may lose the exact count. You may drift halfway through a repetition. That is not a problem. In fact, the drifting is part of the doorway. The sentence is passing beneath the final layer of resistance. You do not need to finish perfectly. You need to return faithfully. This is where the old habit tries to interrupt. A memory appears. A worry rises. Your mind says, "But what about yesterday?" It offers evidence from the unfinished statue you have been carrying for years. Do not argue with it. The old carving belongs to the old instruction. You are not required to chip it out in one night. You are giving the stone a new direction, one deliberate stroke at a time. 3 weeks. At least 3 weeks with the same sentence. Not because the number is magical, but because repetition gives the subconscious a stable command. A sentence repeated once is an idea. A sentence repeated nightly becomes an expectation. An expectation repeated with feeling begins to influence what you notice, what you attempt, what you permit, and what you call possible. Consistency is the pressure. Changing the sentence every night destroys the pressure. One evening you carve abundance, the next confidence, then healing, then love, then escape. Each desire may be sincere, but the stone receives no finished form. Switching sentences is starting a new statue every night. You finish none. Choose one area. Choose one sentence. Stay with it long enough for the words to lose their strangeness. At first, the sentence may sound borrowed. Then it sounds familiar. Then quietly, it begins to sound like you. That is the turning point. The old order has a voice because you have rehearsed it. You have given it years of repetition, emotional force, and attention. You have allowed it to speak during the first moments of waking, during the pause before sleep, and during every private prediction of what will go wrong. Now you give the new order the same access. Desire whispers direction. Teachers point inward. You are not condemned by the pattern. You are responsible for the next impression. Why was the old sentence repeated so often? Why did the same feeling become familiar? Why does the new direction feel strange before it feels true? Because the stone remembers pressure. But stone can change. Every night you return to the same place. You do not demand a visible result. You do not dig up the statue to inspect its progress. You trust the work beneath the surface while your ordinary life continues above it. During the day, you may notice a different response, a calmer decision, a new impulse, a conversation you would once have avoided. These are not random interruptions. They are chips falling from the old form. Do not worship the evidence. The sentence comes first. The evidence follows. You are not using words to hypnotize yourself into denial. You are using words to establish an inner direction, then allowing your choices to move in harmony with it. The subconscious serves the order you repeatedly accept. It seeks confirmation. It arranges attention around what you have impressed upon it. The mind obeys the image it receives most consistently. So make the image clean. If your sentence is, "I am becoming calm and secure," feel the settled quality of it. You do not need to imagine every detail of your future. You need to inhabit the emotional atmosphere of the statement for a few quiet minutes. Calm is enough. Security is enough. Gratitude may strengthen the impression. Let yourself feel thankful, as though the condition is already arriving, already taking root, already available to you. Gratitude is not decoration. It tells the deeper mind that the desired state is not foreign. You welcome what you thank life for. Then release it. Do not spend the morning checking whether the stone has moved. Do not repeat the sentence with anxious suspicion, asking whether it worked. That suspicion is another order. It says, "Nothing is happening. I am still waiting. I am still separate from the result." Speak at night, trust during the day. The sculptor works in silence. Tonight, choose the line, test its tone, soften it if your chest tightens. Lie down at the drowsy edge of sleep. Let your body become heavy, and repeat it for about 10 minutes, with the gentle feeling of a lullaby. Then return tomorrow night and the next night. You are the sculptor. Your sentence is the tool. Your subconscious is the living stone that accepts repeated direction and gradually reveals the form hidden within it. Do not search for another method. Use the one sentence. Starting now, your work is not to force a new life into existence, but to stop carving the old one. Carry the same present tense words into sleep until they become familiar enough to guide your waking hands. But a new sentence entering an occupied mind meets the old order standing in the doorway, and tomorrow morning that old order will speak first. You cannot build a new house on a lot that still has the old blueprint filed at City Hall. You can paint the walls, you can replace the doors, you can hang bright lamps in every room. But beneath the work, the original design still governs what gets built. That is why your life can change for a few days and then return to the same shape. The old instruction remains active. Your subconscious does not debate it. It does not inspect it. It receives the command and begins arranging your attention, your reactions, and your choices around it. The old blueprint is still filed. Tonight, you may impress a new sentence upon your deeper mind. You may feel it as already accomplished. You may fall asleep while the new design is glowing inside you. That is the night work. But morning brings the construction site back into view. The old fear speaks. The old interpretation rises. The old reflex reaches for the familiar tool. This is where the second half of the method begins. Because your daytime behavior either protects the new blueprint or hands the building back to the old architect. Do not fight the old instruction. Fighting gives it attention. Suppressing it gives it secrecy. Arguing with it gives it a courtroom, witnesses, and a long future. You are not required to prove the old command wrong. You are required to stop signing beneath it. Answer it with one flat line. That is no longer my instruction. Then return to your chosen sentence for 15 seconds. That is the entire daytime practice. no performance, no emotional struggle, no desperate attempt to feel transformed while your surroundings appear unchanged. You hear the old command, you refuse to endorse it, and you bring your mind back to the sentence that represents the house you are now building. Idols receive projection. Goals mark distance. Your first reaction may still carry the old design. It may arrive before your conscious mind catches it. You may feel the familiar tightening in your chest, the familiar expectation of rejection, the familiar thought that success belongs somewhere else. Do not make that moment into a prophecy. It is only an old line appearing on an old page. You are revising. When fear says, "This will fail," you do not answer with a speech. You do not begin collecting evidence from your entire past. You do not wrestle with the sentence until you are exhausted. You say, "That is no longer my instruction." Then you return. "I am safe in the life I am creating." Or, "Everything is arranging itself for my good." Or, "I am already becoming the person who receives this naturally." Choose your sentence before the day begins. Make it simple enough to survive pressure. Make it vivid enough to carry feeling. A cold phrase repeated without inner participation is only ink on paper. Your subconscious responds to the impression behind the words, to the quiet sense that the desired condition is becoming familiar. The blueprint must feel inhabited. For 15 seconds, you let yourself stand inside the completed room. You do not beg for the door to appear. You do not ask whether the foundation is strong enough. You let the mind experience the condition as present, and then you continue with your day. Return again. That is how the old command loses authority. Not through one dramatic battle, but through hundreds of small refusals that stop feeding it. The old pattern survives by being treated as official. Each time you respond automatically, you stamp its approval. Each time you answer calmly and return to your sentence, you remove your signature. Memory preserves prisons. Mercy releases fire. You are not guilty for finding the old blueprint in the archive. You are responsible for what you file next. This distinction matters. If you attack yourself whenever the old fear appears, you create another command. I am failing at changing. Your subconscious accepts that too. It begins building a room where every effort becomes evidence against you. Do not draft that room. You are not trying to become someone who never has an unwanted thought. You are becoming someone who no longer treats every thought as an order. A thought may knock, a feeling may rise, a memory may present itself. None of these has authority, unless you grant it authority. The thought appears, you choose the instruction. Why does the old fear return? Why does the same conversation still disturb you? Why does the new sentence seem weaker than the old reaction? Because the old blueprint has been used repeatedly. It has shaped your attention for years. The new design is not weak. It is simply new. A line becomes stronger every time you return to it without drama. This is where you must become patient with the unseen work. You may say the sentence in the morning and still encounter an unpleasant message. You may imagine abundance and still see an overdue bill. You may affirm peace and still feel anger rise when someone speaks to you carelessly. None of this proves that the new instruction has failed. The construction site is noisy. Your outer day does not instantly reflect the inner revision. Materials already ordered may still arrive. Old arrangements may still stand for a while. You do not tear up the new blueprint because the old walls have not vanished by lunchtime. You continue. Guard the first 4 minutes after waking. Those minutes are not empty. They are the softest part of the day, before the world has filled your mind with its demands and alarms. Do not reach for your phone. Do not open the inbox. Do not give the news the privilege of writing the first line. The first instruction sets the pitch. Before you speak to anyone, speak to yourself. Let your sentence be the first deliberate sound inside you. You are telling the subconscious what kind of day it is allowed to construct before external voices begin submitting their designs. 4 minutes can alter the direction of an entire morning. You may sit in silence. You may breathe slowly. You may feel gratitude for the condition you are claiming, as though it has already entered your life. Gratitude is not decoration. It gives emotional weight to the blueprint. It tells your deeper mind that the desired state is not a distant fantasy, but a condition you are beginning to recognize as yours. Then you move. Do not announce the change to everyone around you. Silence protects the design. When you explain every new belief, you invite someone else to place their doubt over it. You describe your new direction, and another voice offers a reason it cannot work. You defend yourself. You feel resistance. You have now allowed an outside hand to edit the page. Murphy understood the power of quiet impression. The work is done in silence, because your subconscious does not need a public argument. It needs repetition, feeling, and trust. The declaration belongs within you. You do not need to convince your family. You do not need to update your friends. You do not need to announce that your life is changing before the evidence arrives. An architect does not invite every passerby to redraw the structure. Keep the pencil in your hand. This does not mean you become secretive from fear. It means you stop scattering your authority. You stop asking external voices to approve an inner decision. Their doubt is not a command unless you carry it into the drafting room. At night, you revise the day before sleep. Choose the one moment that went badly. Only one. Do not turn the evening into an examination of every imperfection. Find the scene where the old blueprint seemed to control the result, and replay it once in your mind, the way you would have wanted it to happen. See yourself speaking calmly. See the other person responding with respect. See the door opening. See yourself receiving the message, making the decision, or standing firmly where you once collapsed. Let the revised scene become the last version filed. Do not replay the failure with anger. You are not pretending that the event never happened in the outer world. You are choosing which impression enters the deeper mind before sleep. In the relaxed state between waking and dreaming, the conscious guard softens. The image passes inward with less resistance. Feeling gives it life. Repetition gives it structure. The final scene matters. If you fall asleep rehearsing humiliation, lack, and defeat, you send those conditions deeper. If you fall asleep feeling gratitude for the revised outcome, you give your subconscious a different instruction to work with through the night. The old house is being redrawn. You may notice small signs first. You pause before reacting. You forget to check for bad news. You speak with less explanation. A problem appears, and your body does not immediately obey the old alarm. These changes may seem too ordinary to matter. They are not ordinary. The first sign of a new blueprint is often not a dramatic result. It is a new response inside a familiar circumstance. The same hallway appears, but you walk through it differently. The same voice speaks, but you no longer hand it the plans. Reaction belongs to the old command. Selection belongs to the new. Stay with the sentence. When the old fear speaks tomorrow, do not negotiate. That is no longer my instruction. Return for 15 seconds. When you wake, protect the first 4 minutes. When the day closes, revise the moment that went badly, and let the desired version be the last version filed. You are the architect, not someday, not after the evidence arrives. You are the architect now, drafting beneath the noise, choosing which image receives feeling, which sentence receives repetition, and which command receives your obedience. Do this for 3 weeks, and something will begin to shift. But it will not look like what you expect. And you may abandon the work precisely because you cannot recognize the first sign of success. It will begin as a quiet refusal, a different morning, a revised scene before sleep. And at this very moment, the new blueprint is waiting for your hand. The weather changes long before the sky looks different. The pressure drops first, and only someone paying attention feels it. You may still be standing inside the same room, facing the same problem, seeing the same empty space where the answer should be. Yet something has already shifted. You are waiting for evidence outside. But the first evidence appears within you. Most people miss this moment because they expect thunder. They expect money, a message, a sudden invitation, a door swinging open with perfect timing. When none of that happens immediately, you assume the order failed. It did not fail. The atmosphere changed first. Your subconscious does not obey the urgency of your conscious mind. It does not need dramatic proof to begin rearranging your experience. It receives the impression you repeatedly accept, then moves quietly beneath your awareness, changing the pressure from which your thoughts, reactions, decisions, and circumstances arise. You may still see clouds. The pressure is different. The first sign is never money or a message. It is that the thing which used to spike your chest now passes through you and keeps going. You notice the name without collapsing. You remember the unpaid bill without entering panic. You hear the familiar criticism, and instead of preparing an entire defense inside your mind, you simply hear it. Then it passes. That is not small. You have been trained to measure change by visible events, but visible events are late arrivals. Your inner weather moves first. The old atmosphere used to command your body, and your body used to confirm the command. A thought appeared, fear followed, and fear made the thought feel true. Now the thought appears. But the storm does not form. Humility receives truth. The Creator selects. The old pattern pulls you toward the same emotional climate, while the new instruction teaches you to remain present without becoming the weather passing across your mind. This is where many quit. You feel the old trigger, but you no longer receive the old reward. You do not receive the familiar rush of outrage, dread, obsession, or self-pity. You have not yet received the outer result either. So you decide nothing is happening. Something is happening. The storm is losing power. You may think you are becoming cold. You may wonder if you have lost your passion. You may even accuse yourself of indifference, because you no longer check the old situation every few minutes. But peace often feels strange when anxiety has been your identity. The second sign is a quiet you did not expect. It can feel like emptiness, because the old emotional pressure has stopped generating, while the new pressure system has not fully arrived. You are between climates. Do not rush to fill that space. You have spent years filling every silence with prediction. You have called it preparation, but much of it was rehearsal for pain. You imagined what could go wrong, how you would respond, what they might say, and how you would protect yourself. Your mind kept producing dark clouds, because you kept giving it the same atmospheric order. Now you withdraw the order. The sky goes still. This stillness can frighten you. You may search for a problem simply to feel familiar again. You may revisit old conversations, inspect your bank account, reread the message, or ask yourself whether the desire is still alive. You are checking the sky for proof. Stop checking. A field of inner quiet is not failure. It is the absence of the old command. The subconscious is no longer being impressed with disaster every hour, but the new assumption has not yet become so natural that you forget the question entirely. That in-between condition is sacred. It is where the nervous system discovers that nothing terrible happens when you stop feeding the storm. The old weather demanded attention. The new weather receives trust. That is the difference. You do not force a new reality by shouting at yourself. You impress the subconscious through relaxed acceptance. You speak the desire as already settled. Allow feeling to accompany the words, and then release the demand to watch for immediate confirmation. You plant the order deeply, then you stop digging it up. At night, when the conscious guard softens, your chosen feeling can enter more easily. You do not need to strain. You do not need to repeat the same sentence with clenched teeth until sleep arrives. You allow the fulfilled condition to become familiar, as though you are remembering a fact that no longer requires argument. Gratitude helps, because it changes your inner atmosphere from pleading to receiving. Begging says the sky is empty. Gratitude says the pressure has already shifted, even before the clouds separate. You are not trying to manipulate the universe with perfect words. You are giving your deeper mind a clear direction and refusing to contradict it every morning. The third sign is quieter still. You forget to worry about it. Not forever, not perfectly, but long enough to discover that your attention has moved elsewhere. You are washing a cup, walking through a store, answering a message, and suddenly you realize that an hour has passed without checking whether the desire has arrived. That is powerful evidence. The order has begun to settle. When an instruction becomes accepted, you no longer repeat it with desperation. You do not stand in front of a door every second, demanding that it open. You continue with your life because some part of you already knows movement is underway. Worry is repeated instruction. Trust is completed instruction. The anxious mind keeps broadcasting, "Where is it? Where is it? Where is it?" The settled mind says, "It is being handled. and returns to the present moment. Why are you checking the sky? Why are you demanding proof from every passing cloud? Why are you calling the quiet a failure? The answer is not complicated. You were taught to believe that control means constant surveillance. You were taught that if you stop worrying, you stop caring. But worry is not devotion. Worry is an atmosphere you have mistaken for responsibility. Release the inspection. You can still take practical action. You can still answer the call, send the application, make the payment, or walk through the open door, but your action no longer rises from terror. The bracing disappears and action becomes clean. Regret resurrects endings. Laziness delays destiny. You are not condemned by every cloud you once created. You are learning to notice which atmosphere you continue to authorize. Your circumstances reveal patterns in your inner climate, but they do not define your entire sky. A storm can be present without being permanent. This matters because the outer shift usually arrives after you have stopped demanding that it arrive in one specific costume. The fourth sign comes sideways. It may come through a person you were not tracking. It may appear as an opportunity that does not resemble the picture you rehearsed. It may arrive at the exact moment you stopped bracing for disappointment, when your attention was no longer fixed on the horizon. You were watching for one door. The weather opened another. This is why rigid expectation can hide fulfillment. You ask for the feeling of security, then reject the form because it does not match your original scene. You ask for love, then dismiss the unexpected connection. You ask for abundance, then overlook the introduction, the idea, the invitation, or the small permission that begins the larger movement. The subconscious does not need to obey your limited description of the route. It responds to the accepted state beneath the words. When you impress the feeling of being supported, your life may answer through a channel your anxious mind never considered. The outer change often looks ordinary at first. A conversation lasts longer. A delay ends. A stranger remembers your name. You notice an option that was always near you, but invisible while you were inside the old pressure. The event may not announce itself as manifestation. It may simply feel natural. That naturalness is another sign. The creature waits for rescue. The creator recognizes cooperation. The fearful mind asks whether the change is real. The calm mind moves with it. Do not demand fireworks from a new atmosphere. Clear air does not need to make noise. Your first victory is not possession, it is regulation. Your first proof is not applause. It is the disappearance of the inner compulsion that once made you chase, plead, and rehearse loss. This is why the flat period must not be judged too quickly. A silent sky can mean the old weather has ended. The absence of emotional drama can be the first shape of freedom. You may wake and feel nothing special. You may repeat the quiet assumption and receive no rush of excitement. Good. Feeling does not always arrive as intensity. Sometimes it arrives as normality. When the new order becomes believable, you stop trying to manufacture emotion. You simply inhabit the direction. You no longer need to convince yourself every 5 minutes, because the subconscious has begun treating the instruction as an ordinary condition. That is when behavior changes without force. You speak differently. You choose differently. You notice different invitations. You tolerate less confusion. You stop returning to the same emotional storm just because it once felt like home. Your atmosphere is becoming yours again. You are not waiting for life to permit your peace. You are no longer giving every outside event authority over your inner pressure. The sky may still contain clouds, but you are not confused with them. You are the calm center of your own weather. Hold that identity gently. Do not turn it into another demand. You do not need to perform calmness while secretly searching for proof. Return to the fulfilled feeling, especially in the quiet before sleep, and let your deeper mind receive it without argument. Then live. The message may come later. The money may come later. The meeting, opening, answer, or unexpected person may come later. But the essential shift is already visible in the way you breathe when the old trigger appears. It rises, it passes. You remain. That is how you know the order is working. Not because every cloud has vanished, but because the storm no longer commands your body. Not because the world has instantly changed, but because you no longer create the same weather inside it. None of these signs can arrive for you tonight, though, because tonight only one thing can happen, and it is the smallest thing in this entire book. You can stop arguing with the clear sky, beginning within you. And starting now, you can let the quiet prove that you have already given a new order. You will not remember most of what you heard here, and it does not matter. You only need to remember one sentence, and you already know which one it is. Perhaps it is the sentence that rose quietly inside you while you were listening. The sentence you felt before you understood it. The sentence that did not sound like a wish, but like an instruction. That is where everything changes. Not tomorrow, tonight. You have spent years watching the same patterns return, the same kind of disappointment, the same hesitation at the same doorway, the same inner statement, repeated so often that it began to sound like your own voice. But a pattern is not a prophecy. It is an order. Somewhere, at some earlier moment, you gave your subconscious a command. Maybe you gave it through fear, maybe through shame, maybe through a sentence spoken only once, during a moment when you were tired and exposed. Your deeper mind did not demand a signature. It did not ask whether you meant it forever. It simply received the instruction, and then it obeyed. That is the part you must understand tonight. Your subconscious does not argue with the orders you repeat through feeling. It does not stand outside your life, judging which instruction deserves fulfillment. It accepts the atmosphere you create within, and then it begins arranging your attention, your reactions, your expectations, and your choices around that inner command. Cause moves secretly. Walls enforce separation. You are not powerless inside a mysterious system. You are the voice that has been speaking into it. Be still. You have been calling this life, but much of what you call life is a fire. You keep feeding with the same wood. The flame rises, and you say, "There it is again." The smoke enters the room, and you say, "This always happens to me." Yet the fire does not know your history. It only knows what you place within reach. You do not need to hate the old fire. You do not need to blame yourself for its existence. It began with an ember, perhaps a small conclusion you made when you had no better understanding. You held it close, sheltered it with attention, and over time it learned how to burn. Now you can place another ember beside it. Not a dramatic declaration, not a desperate demand. One living sentence. No one lights a fire with a fire. Every fire begins with a single ember held out of the wind. And one sentence spoken tonight is that ember. You do not have to believe it yet. This matters. The ember does not require your confidence. It requires your protection from your own doubt for a few minutes. You are not being asked to perform certainty before you feel certain. You are being asked to stop scattering your attention long enough for a new instruction to reach the deeper part of you. Let your body become quiet. Let the day loosen its grip. The moment before sleep is not empty. It is an open doorway within your awareness, when the sharp guard of analysis grows tired and the deeper mind becomes more receptive. This is why you do not need to shout your order into the night. You need to speak it softly, as though you are placing a coal into warm ash. Say it as accomplished fact. Not, I will be secure. Say, I am secure within myself. Not, I hope to be loved. Say, love moves through my life naturally. Not, I am trying to become calm. Say, I am calm, and I respond with wisdom. Choose the sentence that carries the reality you are ready to inhabit. Then feel it. Cold repetition has no warmth. A word without inner participation is only sound passing through the air. But when you allow the sentence to touch you, even slightly, the ember glows. A breath of gratitude can be enough. A quiet sense of relief can be enough. You do not need to manufacture a storm of emotion. You only need to let the sentence feel possible inside you. Then let it go. This is where you stop interfering. You do not keep digging up the ember to check whether it is alive. You do not repeat the order with panic, asking the darkness whether it heard you. You give the command, feel its truth, and release it into the deeper intelligence that has been carrying out your instructions all along. Trust is not passivity. Trust is refusing to cancel the order with the next thought. The old pattern did not need permission to begin. The new order does not need permission either. You were always the one issuing them, even when you did not know you were speaking. The subconscious was not waiting for an authority outside you. It was waiting for a direction, and you understand at last. Why was the old sentence accepted? Why did the same reaction return so faithfully? Why should a new instruction be impossible now? The answer is already moving through you. You do not need to understand every hidden mechanism. You do not need to examine every memory that helped construct the old command. You do not need to repair the entire past before you are allowed to choose the next word. The past is not your ruler. It is evidence. It shows you what repeated instruction can do. It shows you that the subconscious is consistent. It shows you that your inner speech has consequences. Not because every passing thought becomes reality, but because the thoughts you repeatedly impress with feeling become directions for your attention and conduct. Clarity follows one aim. Vitality occupies vision. Tonight, you leave shame outside the room. You look at the pattern without kneeling before it. You recognize the way it burns, the way it consumes the same hours, the way it makes familiar pain feel safer than unfamiliar freedom. Then you stop feeding it for one moment. Only one moment. That is enough to begin. The fire does not ask whether the ember is large. It asks whether you protect it. Your new sentence may feel fragile. Good. Fragility does not mean weakness. It means you are touching something before it has gathered strength. Do not insult the beginning because it is small. A sentence repeated nightly becomes an inner climate. An inner climate shapes what you notice. What you notice shapes what you expect. What you expect influences what you accept, what you refuse, and what you move toward without conscious struggle. This is not magic in the childish sense. It is the quiet obedience of your deeper mind to the reality you continually impress upon it. And your deeper mind is listening now. And maybe you have been waiting to feel ready. You have imagined that a perfect morning would arrive, and then you would begin with perfect confidence. But nothing in your life is waiting for you to be ready. It is waiting for the instruction. The flame does not wait for permission from the wind. It responds to what reaches it. You may say, "I am not ready to trust." Then begin with, "I am willing to trust." You may say, "I cannot feel abundant." Then begin with, "I am open to receiving." You may say, "I do not know how to love myself." Then begin with, "I am learning to treat myself with kindness." Do not make the order so distant that your body rejects it. Do not make it so small that it carries no life. Find the sentence that your mind can hold without immediately extinguishing it. Speak it slowly. Feel the relief of no longer being divided against yourself. Feel the quiet gratitude of giving your inner kingdom a new direction. Gratitude is not a performance you offer to persuade the universe. It is the feeling of recognizing that the ember is already in your hand. The beggar asks for fire. The sovereign tends it. You are the sovereign of your own inner kingdom. This does not mean you control every event, every person, or every condition around you. It means you reclaim authority over the instruction you repeatedly send inward. You cannot command the outer world like a servant. You can command the inner pattern through which you meet that world. The victim waits for life to change before changing the order. The sovereign changes the order, then allows life to answer. That is the distinction. Tonight, when the room is quiet, do not turn this into another task you can fail. There is no examination. There is only contact. Lie down. Breathe naturally. Let the muscles of your face soften. Let the day become less important. Then, speak one sentence. Not 10. 1. Repeat it with the gentleness of someone warming cold hands near a flame. Let the words become familiar without becoming mechanical. Allow a small feeling to join them. Relief, gratitude, safety, love. Whichever feeling belongs to the life your sentence describes. Then sleep. You may wake tomorrow and notice nothing. Do not demand immediate evidence. A fire beneath ash is still fire. The command is not weakened because you cannot inspect its progress. Your task is to stop issuing the old order every time fear rises. When the old thought appears, you do not wrestle with it. You do not build another fire from resistance. You return to the sentence. The old order says, "This is who I am." The new order says, "This is what I am choosing now." The old order repeats the wound. The new order repeats the possibility. The old order contracts your attention. The new order opens it. You do not need to win an argument with the past. You need to stop appointing it as your voice. Starting now, notice what you say when no one is listening. Notice the sentence beneath the reaction. Notice the ember you keep carrying from room to room. Then decide whether it still belongs in your inner kingdom. You can give another command, quietly, with feeling. And when doubt arrives, remember that doubt is only wind. You do not need to destroy the wind. You only need to cup your hands around the ember for a little longer. Soon the warmth will answer. Not because someone grants you authority, not because the world finally approves your request, because the authority was never granted to you. It was always yours. You have been speaking into the fire your entire life. Tonight, speak deliberately. Tonight, choose the sentence that deserves to live within you. The order is yours to give. Give it tonight, quietly, in the dark, and then sleep, because something in you is already listening, and it has never once refused you. The lock was never your life. The lock was the order hidden beneath your life, and the key was always in your hand. Every repetition was an answer. Every pattern was obedience. Your subconscious did not betray you. It carried out the instructions impressed upon it, through fear, expectation, memory, and feeling. But the truth has landed. You can turn the key. You are no longer the prisoner standing before a locked door. You are the key holder, the honest witness, the interpreter of your own repetitions. You are the heir who has remembered the inheritance, the custodian who can finally read the map. You are the instrument and the musician. You are the sower who chooses the seed, the keeper of the hour who refuses to surrender the present, the sculptor who gives form to thought, and the architect who builds from within. You are calm now, not because the weather has obeyed you, but because you have become the calm center of your own weather. You are sovereign. Your inner kingdom hears you. So speak carefully, feel deliberately, imagine faithfully. Give no command you do not wish to see, clothed in circumstance. Feed no pattern you are unwilling to meet again. The final chapter has left an ember in your hands. This is where listening ends. This is where tending begins. Carry that ember into your mornings, your conversations, your choices, and the silent moments before sleep. Protect it. Breathe upon it. Let every new declaration become fuel until the ember becomes a fire, and the fire becomes a light by which your whole life can find its way home. If you subscribed, let it be a covenant, not with a channel, but with the consciousness you have chosen to inhabit. If you comment, let your words become a signature beneath your new decree. Write the order you now give your life. Name the pattern that ends with you. You and the power within you are not divided. You are no longer waiting for permission. You are the sovereign of your own inner kingdom. The lock has yielded. The key has turned. The door is already open. Step through